Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome back to another Division 2 video. My name is Prime and today I'm gonna show you a few changes within the brand sets because the PTS just went live. There are some huge changes and some changes that I think could be changed entirely. So without further ado, let's see what all the brand sets will do after the update. So let's get over all the buffs because nerfs are not in this, and that is a great thing. Of course, there are a few things that we can talk about. Example, health. But let's start it up. This is how it looks. On the left side, you will see all the brand set bonuses that are live in the game right now. And on the right side, you will see all the bonuses after the update, or of course on the public test server that is live right now as well. So let's start with 5.11. They changed the 3-piece from 10% hazard protection to 20. Badger Tough, they changed the 3-piece from 10% armor on kill to 15. Bellstone, they changed the 20% incoming repairs to 40%. Brazos, they changed the 20% mag size to 30% mag size. The Gilia Guard is the first one that changed the 2-piece and the 3-piece from 10% health to 20% health, and from 1 arm regeneration to 3% arm regeneration. And that is a huge buff. We all know that arm regeneration builds are king, so let's see what we can do with the 3-piece Gila Guard in combination with all the other arm regeneration pieces that are available in the game. Golden Gear went from 1% arm regeneration to 2% arm regeneration and 5% total armor to 10% total armor. The Hasbro went from 10% status effects to 20% status effects. Lengmo changes 2 pieces as well, from 10% skill health to 25% skill health, and from 15% LMG damage to 20% LMG damage. And then over to Uzina Gettica, and that will change 10% hazard protection to 20% hazard protection. So let's talk about this page real quick. I think there are a few very nice changes, especially to the Gila Guard and the Golem. And then of course aiming to that arm regeneration. But overall, that health increase on the Gila Guard is not really something that I'm looking forward to or will be using, as we don't really use health anymore in the game. So in my opinion, they should have changed that. Same as for 5.11, who needs that 10% health? And of course, let me know what you think about this page, these changes. What would you love to see change? Because this is still the PTS. Things are still subject to change and we can still give feedback to devs. So maybe they can nerf, change or buff a few things. Let me know in the comments down below what you would love to see. Then jumping over to Alps. And Alps will get a double buff as well, from 20% skill duration to 30% skill duration, and from 10% skill haste to 30% status effect. So they do change things. This went from skill haste to status effects and a pretty big boost as well. Then for China Light, they changed 2 things as well. 10% skill haste to 20% skill haste and 10% status effects to 20% status effects. Electric got a buff in the SMG damage from 10% to 20%. And Empress will get an extra 10% skill damage from 10 to 20. And that's the only change that we see on the second piece. And this is a very welcome change. The crit skill builds or the skill builds will do a little bit extra damage of 10%. Then Hanyu changed 2 again as well, from 10% skill haste to 20% skill haste, and from 5% weapon damage to 10% weapon damage. Murakami has 10% extra repair skills from 20 to 30 and has an extra 20% skill damage from 10 to 30. So this could be a very interesting one. Murakami was not really used that much, or at least not in my opinion, especially not on skill damage builds. So this could be very interesting. Are people still gonna use Murakami only for the healer builds, or is it interesting to run for damage builds as well? Then for the RNK, an extra 15% explosive resistance and an extra 20% repair skills. And then for the last one on this list, an extra 5% status effects for Wyvern and an extra 20% skill duration for Wyvern as well. And we already kinda went over everything. The only big thing, I'm wondering if we will get Murakami into skill damage builds as well, or are there better other setups? Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this, and we see the first big change on Alps from skill haste to status effects. So I'm very curious what you think about that. And then going over to the last page, and these are the most interesting for me because I love to use my full red builds. I almost always go into full damage. So Ceska gets an upgrade from 10% health to 30% health. Douglas and Harding gets an extra 10% weapon accuracy. Defenders will get an extra 10% weapon stability. The Grupo Sombra will get an extra 5% explosive damage. Petrov will gain an extra 10% ammo capacity. Overlord will gain an extra 5% weapon handling, and Walker and Harris will gain an extra 5% damage to health. So this is pretty interesting. I don't know what to think about Ceska because again, we come back to that health issue. We're gaining extra 20% health. But again, are we using health in this game? I would love to see that they will change that to something different, a total different stat, like they did with Alps, for example. It's a little bit of a bummer that Walker and Harris didn't get an extra upgrade to damage to armor. We kinda would have expected that. It's nice that we are gaining an extra damage to health. That will help against robotics. That will probably help, for example, Razorback in the dark hours raid. But overall, will we use a 3-piece Walker and Harris? And then, of course, what are the things that you noticed the most? There are a few very nice changes, but again, there are a few changes that I would just totally skip or even replace with different stats. Again, let me know in the comments down below, but that's pretty much it. The PTS went live today. If you want to test it out, it's all free. Just log into your Ubisoft Connect and make sure to download the PTS. It's only available on PC, and I got a lot more videos coming, so make sure to hit that subscribe button to keep updated about the PTS, the whole of the Division, and of course the future Division 3 as well. And if this video helps you out in any way or form, or of course if you like the video, make sure to like this video, and I will see you in the next one. PurePrime out.